Hello and welcome to the Critical Breakdown, the podcast where we start at the bottom of Rotten Tomatoes and work our way to 100% fresh. I'm Scott.
And I'm Max, and today we're talking Takers, rated 28% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Talking Takers.
And we're talking about Takers with a guest.
Yes, we are. Former Atlanta roommate and middle school classmate and college classmate, John.
Hey guys, thanks for having me on the pod.
Welcome, John. I'm sure a lot of our friends from college will be excited to have you, and the rest of our audience.
I hope so.
Yeah, I do too. Thanks for coming up, though.
No problem.
Live in Studio B.
Yeah, no, I'm a legitimate big fan. People always say that when they call into talk radio before asking a terrible question, but...
Long-time listener, first-time
yeah,
caller.
Yeah, exactly. That's me. I'm that guy today.
Well, we are glad
I do that
have
to
you.
Delilah all the time.
We thought Takers was the perfect movie for you.
Yeah, it had Chris Brown and T.I., who I'm pretty familiar with.
Yeah.
I like bank robbery movies, just like, I'm planning a career change into that, so it's sort of
a good prepper.
educational. No, yeah, it was right up my alley.
There you go.
It's like you hand them a CV, it just lists all the bank robbery movies.
Yeah.
Yeah, watch this, and that.
Then they ask, did you really do it? I would say I plead the fifth, because you can't get arrested if you say that.
Well,
That's true. You heard it here first.
Yeah.
yeah. A note to everyone, John's legal advice is not the official stance of the Critical Breakdown. Before we get into Takers, though, Max, you been watching anything cool?
Yeah, I actually managed to watch Terminator 3, which I have not seen since it came out.
When are we talking there, 99?
No, way after that. It was like 2003, 2004 maybe. I want to say 2003.
Okay.
I'll have to look that up.
Right
Maybe.
That's not Cameron anymore, is it?
No, he might have produced that one. I don't remember the director. It was kind of like underwhelming when that one came out because people have been waiting for Terminator 3 since
and T2 is so well
1992.
regarded.
So yeah, and the first two, the first two are classics. So it's just with 3, we were waiting on something amazing, and it's as a whole piece, it's good. Individual pieces, there's really cheesy moments in it. It looks like a early 2000s film.
Doesn't age well.
It's not as timeless looking as... the first one's an 80s movie for sure, but the scenes still carry over, and the second one kind of is the most timeless out of the however many are done now.
There's like 5 or 6. Yeah.
But,
have you seen Terminator 3, John?
I have not seen any of them.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
We could get into it, but me and Max have differing opinions. Me and like most of the world have different opinions.
Yeah, I would say it's not just me and you. And even then, my opinion is that 2 is only slightly better than the first one.
Yeah.
Your
I don't like
opinion's
2
very different.
at all, but it's not my style movie.
I have huge gaps in my media consumption. I feel like I didn't start watching movies until like freshman year of college. So if it's before that, I probably haven't seen it.
Well, you should definitely check out the Terminator series.
I don't know about Terminator 3. I haven't seen
just
Terminator 3.
Start watching movies and listening to music, I think.
If I had to rank Terminator movies, like Terminator 2 would probably be my favorite, with the first Terminator shortly thereafter.
Yeah.
And then this is about, a toss-up with Salvation. So...
Yeah, I've seen 1, 2, and Salvation. I haven't seen 3 or Genesis. Genesis got horrific reviews.
Yeah,
so.
I want to check it out, but I'm not in a rush.
Yeah.
I love the Terminator series, so...
We probably passed it on our countdown already.
Probably.
I should so I could be more fair in my criticism of Arnold Schwarzenegger. When he was elected, I was like, wasn't that the guy in the Terminator? Maybe he's great, and he should have been governor, but I don't know.
I don't think the two are related at all.
I just don't like it when
celebrities
are politicians.
he did use that Terminator fame to do it, so Governator, all that.
That's
exactly. Yeah.
But
you can't blame him.
My favorite thing really with the third one is just that the ending is very strong. Okay. So for all of it, the shit it goes through, like it gets through a really good spot and ends very strongly. Yeah. So
it's always tough with like a big trilogy like that to end in a satisfying way.
Yeah. And this ending was extremely satisfying for what it was. So the whole movie, even the goofy parts are redeemed in a sense. So.
Yeah. Right on. Anything else?
No,
Okay. John, you been watching anything good?
Yeah, well, we knocked one off of your 209 movie list last night when we watched Heat, which was also a heist movie. But
we were prepping for the heist movie.
It was twice as long and twice as good.
For sure. At least.
Yeah.
And it was cool. I think we'll talk about it, but you could see all the parallels between Heat and Takers.
Yeah.
Takers is so much worse, but they tried pretty much all the same things.
Yeah.
Any heist movie made after Heat mimics Heat.
Yeah.
And that's just an unfortunate thing with filmmaking. When you make a film as good as that, any mafia movie is going to mimic The Godfather.
Yeah, or Goodfellas, because they frame your the way you view those things.
So.
My favorite part about Heat was how weird Al Pacino was.
Yeah.
Like that scene where he's like, she's got a great ass. I was dying.
He screamed a lot, broke
Yeah.
a lot of things, and when he's more weird than John Voight, like
Yeah. John Voight looked...
greaseball.
He looked like what I imagine herpes looks like.
Yeah, it's like the tip of his nose was about to fall
It's
off.
been about
Michael
a decade
Jackson
since
style.
I watched Heat. Does everyone just have gelled back hair
There's
the entire movie?
A lot of
There's
people
a lot
do,
of,
yeah.
gelled
I feel
back
like
hair.
most of them have gelled, just slick
I think
back
Pacino
hair.
didn't have enough to slick back,
Yeah.
so he
He had
had
more
kind
of
of
like the-
wispy.
yeah.
Edie, who is Robert De Niro's love interest, she had that like classic '90s mega hair where it's just all over the place,
Yeah.
with like an industrial scrunchie holding it together. But she was rocking it.
It was like I don't know. I thought it was like a bunch of black ramen noodles that had like static electricity
Yeah.
shot through them.
Natalie Portman was in it.
Yeah, she plays the daughter, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then like Jeremy Piven had a very small role. There was so many.
Danny Trejo. Was
Yeah,
in
Danny
it.
Trejo was like
of
a
Spy Kids fame.
of Spy Kids fame.
You know, Danny Trejo, has he been a character in one of our movies yet? He seems like he would be. At
I
this
feel
level.
like he had an appearance in Wild Hogs. I have no reason to think that,
He
but
seems
it's
like
that
he
kind of
would be,
movie. I don't know. I don't think he has though.
That's kind of a shame.
We've messed this whole thing
Yeah.
up.
Well, we'll have to check where Triple X is. I know he's in Triple X.
I think we passed Triple X.
We might have passed State of the Union, but I don't know about Triple X.
It's true.
So-
The reboot's coming anyways.
Yeah.
Well, I found I also started this cool little indie TV show called Breaking Bad. And we're really into it. Neither of us have seen
It's
it.
very
We're-
art house, right?
Yeah. I don't know if it'll ever be released in the U.S., but we're in season 3 and loving it.
It's awesome. We've talked about it a lot
Yeah.
off the pod, and I think it's come up a couple. Yeah, during our TV episode, I know it
Yeah,
came
yeah.
up.
Mm-hmm.
It's such a good show, though.
You know, there's like a Colombian version of Breaking Bad that's made
Really?
shot for shot remade.
Really?
Yeah, they just
Cool.
translated it and did everything the same.
I mean, that's still a very good show.
Yeah.
The guy's name is like Walter Blanco.
That's awesome.
It's such a good show, though.
Yeah.
I'm excited for when you finish it, because I've been afraid to spoil things
Mm-hmm.
for you, because it's been probably 5 years since I've watched it. So I don't want to say, have you seen this part? And it's like the next episode.
I know crazy stuff is coming because you'll be like kind of lulled into, oh, like Walter's sick, he's trying to make money, blah. Then like all of a sudden something
Yeah, there's
nuts
like an
will just happen.
explosion.
Yeah.
Better Call Saul is really good, too. So you should just pick up Better Call Saul as soon as you finish
I
Breaking
probably
Bad.
will.
Yeah.
I saw a billboard in our hometown of Greenville with a real lawyer, and it was something like Better Call Paul. I think like he was clearly like taking off that. I'm sure some.
I wonder how many meth
lawyer-
people call him though.
Yeah,
Yeah.
They think it's,
It's
gonna
just
be
an
helpful.
ad.
I just do real estate closings.
Yeah. Calm down.
Better Call Paul.
Oh yeah, it was something like some kind of
Yeah.
shameless rip
That's
off on it.
hilarious.
You got to get in there, I guess. The hustle's real.
Yeah.
Make any buck you can.
That's right. Anything else? And then we watched Takers.
Yeah.
Speaking of cool endings,
Max, what's the plot synopsis for Takers?
a group of bank robbers find their multi-million-dollar plan interrupted by a hard-boiled detective. That's like barely the actual synopsis.
I
That's
don't even
the-
think that happened.
Yeah, that's
like,
the IMDb synopsis. The real synopsis would be like,
after former partner returns from prison, a new plan unfolds and breaks down as the dynamics shift in the group.
Yeah. The guy that never.
"That's how
should have
we do it,
trusted.
Scott. That's how we do it."
Off the cuff.
Basically, the liability guy.
Yeah, the liability. That
He
should have
shows
been the
up.
name of the movie,
Yeah.
The Liability Guy.
He shows up, and they all, for some reason, agree to do the
Yeah.
job.
Yeah, even though all of them are like, we shouldn't do this, and
Yeah.
but we
Then he
could,
confirms all their suspicions and gets half of them killed.
or more.
Yeah.
So here's my problem with the premise of the movie. So they agreed to do the job. One of the reasons being, he can rat us out. You know?
Yeah.
As soon as he gives them the money, I mean, they give him the money. If he rats them out, he loses the money too because they just got to catch him again. And then, like, so I mean, it's like mutual destruction because then they can just take the money from him.
I think he theoretically could have gone for like immunity or something. You know, like
Theoretically, but they would still take the
yeah.
money.
he could say he never got the money or something like that. There was ways to spin
That
it.
hard-boiled detective would have found it.
Oh, he's
Yeah.
hard boiled.
Yeah. So I'm just saying, like, the premise is just, it just barely works.
Yeah.
And
the movie
if you
barely
really
works.
start thinking about it, it falls apart. And
Yeah.
I mean, that's the film.
And it did.
So,
Yeah.
It's directed by John Lusenhop.
Lusenhop.
Pretty much no way I'm pronouncing that
Yeah.
right, but
Lazenhop.
he did Texas Chainsaw 3D,
Mm-hmm.
which is a good old 19%er, And then I didn't actually write down the name of that other one he did.
I didn't either, honestly.
He did one that had Master P from 2000.
Yeah.
Apparently, one of his things is having rappers star in his movies for like no reason other than they're rappers and people will come to see how they do.
Gets the old B's and the S's.
Yeah.
But Master P,
butts in the seats.
Yeah.
Master P has been in one of our other movies too.
Yeah, he was in Gone in 60 Seconds.
Gone in 60 Seconds.
A bit role.
It was yeah. It was a bad role too.
Did Texas Chainsaw 3D have a rapper in it?
I think it did. It was something like
Ludacris or something.
it might have been like Trey Songz, some like R&B.
So Texas Chainsaw 3D with Trey Songz.
Yeah.
So he's true to his word. He has another movie coming out, and now I'm interested in what
Yeah.
who's going to be in
Songz or
it.
the director?
The director.
Oh.
It was Midnight Special or something.
Oh. Maybe your boy Kendrick's going to be in it.
I'd watch a Kendrick Lamar movie.
Kendrick Lamar?
No, not confirmed. Not
I was gonna
confirmed.
say,
We're just
man,
making this
We're
up.
spitballing.
Yeah.
There's literally not even a plot synopsis.
Yeah, Kendrick's better than that.
Kendrick probably is.
Probably. So why did we pick Takers?
Well, this line was kind of cruddy, and we had two movies that we're really going back and forth on, and I've been meaning to get John on the podcast because he has this just dynamite personality that we wanted to get out there. And this is kind of the tiebreaker because this is definitely a movie. John was my gateway into hip hop music and stuff.
Yeah.
We lived in Atlanta together. It felt like a natural one to bring him in on.
Also home of T.I. So.
Home of T.I., yeah.
We actually had T.I. as our guest originally, but he backed
had
out.
to scratch.
Yeah.
You're a good number two,
he went
John.
back
Right.
I was going to say he went back to prison.
Most people won't know
terrible.
the difference.
But what was the other movie we were considering?
The one I pushed for that I'm kind of like a fan of, even though it's a bad movie, is Clash of the Titans, the 2010 film. It's not good, but
It's also came out in 2010.
It's fun. It's a good Mads Mikkelsen. He has a really good role in it, and
This is
Gemma Arterton's in it.
This is where we get Liam Neeson's Zeus with the "Release the Kraken" line. Right? That's like the only thing that's contributed to society in my eyes.
It's stupid and it's fun, but it's not really worth fighting for. So when you were like, we're gonna do Takers, so I was like, that's fine.
Well, if John didn't want to go, we would have done.
That's true. Yeah.
One thing I want to mention: Clash of the Titans has Sam Worthington, who's the most forgettable lead actor in history.
Yeah.
He was very good in Hacksaw Ridge, though.
Oh, really?
I was very impressed with him because I remembered his name this time. Every time we talk about Clash of the Titans, it's always. And who's
That
the?
I will say this: I was making fun after we watched the Clash of the Titans trailer because we always do our research. I was like, it looked better than Wrath of the Titans, and then we watched it, and both were surprised that Rosamund Pike is in it, and then B, that he has a little curly mullet the whole time.
Yeah, and he's got like a balding curly mullet, and it's horrible.
Oh,
It's really strange.
Yeah.
But one of the other reasons we picked Takers was because not only does it star rappers, but it also stars Hayden Christensen.
That's right.
Yeah.
Who's
A double
also,
dip now.
Yeah,
Hayden,
another alum
of
ours,
the Critical
so,
Break. Do you think he knows we've watched two of his movies now?
Probably. If he watches the stats how we watch the stats. So.
Yeah, Hayden plays a AJ. I don't even know how to describe him.
Fake Justin Bieber.
Yeah, he definitely looked like if Justin Bieber did cocaine.
Yeah.
It was just like he's doing a series of cool guy things, and none of them are cool.
But he's Hayden Christensen.
Yeah.
Including his hat, which... Did they even explain the hat? He just wears
a little bowler hat.
He has a bowler hat, yeah.
His hair's fine. Like, he's not bald or anything.
No.
He's just, like, wants to wear...
Actually,
Even when he took the hat off,
when he
he
lost
had,
the hair,
like,
he had like
the-
little bleached hair.
Yeah.
Right. You think...
Fluffy bleached hair.
What's the point of bleaching it if you're going to hide it under a bowler?
I don't know, but what's
Let
the
it
point
shine.
of having hair if you got a bowler, too? You know?
Also, all of his clothes look kind of baggy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like he had been sick previously and like recovered. So
Or like he was about to do like a tap dancing routine.
Yeah,
in the
yeah,
1930s
yeah.
On like vaudeville or something.
So the other films we skipped out on were Fast and Furious. Not the Fast and the Furious.
Not the original.
But Fast and Furious, which is like the 16th movie in the series.
Yeah, I have a big qualm with movies that title themselves the same as the original.
Yeah.
Like Final Destination is another one where there's
Final
the Final
Destination,
Destination
yeah.
and Final Destination.
We also skipped Not Another Teen Movie
Mm-hmm.
and Project X, which is basically Not Another Teen Movie.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And then
then,
just the one that have a big party in a house.
it's exactly what it is.
Man.
And I know Miles Teller is in it as a character named Miles. I think he just plays himself.
Yeah. That was the most interesting thing about the trailer.
The only interesting thing about it. So not a quality line. We've had some decent lines here recently, but a couple good choices.
Yeah, for sure.
This one was also a box office success, I would say. Surprisingly, yeah. But there's a market for this movie.
Yeah, for sure.
Definitely.
For sure.
Like the Walmart DVD bin.
I was going to say
the Walmart
gas
DVD
station DVD rack. This definitely have this at the top.
Well, when you bring Chris Brown and T.I. in, you're obviously going to get some fans of them to come. But
what do you mean? No, I'm just kidding.
Its budget was $32 million. And it opened at $20.5 million, which won its weekend, which was August 27th of 2010, so closing out the summer there. It opened number one ahead of The Last Exorcism by maybe 100,000. It was really close. And then the original Expendables was also in theaters then. It wasn't its opening, though. But its total domestic run was $57.7 million for number 1,314 of all time. And then it did some domestic, or it did some foreign as well, so pretty far over budget, I'd say.
Yeah.
Good work.
You could say it was successful enough.
Yeah, I'd say it was successful enough. No sequel, though. But I guess the ending, which we'll definitely get into, doesn't really set one up.
When I started Googling Takers earlier, Takers 2 did pop up as an option, though, so maybe people are searching for it.
We all are.
Yeah. So many open questions.
We'll have to talk about who says no to the sequel. I think Idris Elba says no.
A lot of these, Paul Walker, probably.
Too soon, man.
There's no way to say it in the right way.
He hadn't returned our calls to be on the pod.
Okay. Thanks for joining, Joe.
And that's our show.
Yeah.
His character was the only one to survive, though. So that, or for sure survive. So that would be tough to do. But I guess you could have his brother. Didn't his brother film some scenes in one of the Fast and Furious movies?
Yeah.
Let's not talk about it anymore.
Texas Rangers as his brother.
Yeah, Walker, Texas Ranger. This movie was originally titled Bone Deep, which makes no sense.
Yeah, there's no mention of that in the movie.
Yeah, but apparently the director, after hearing Idris Elba deliver the line, "We're takers, gents," really liked
Does he say that in the movie?
Yes.
He does.
I didn't even know.
Early on in the movie, he does, yeah. So.
In one of the several, landscape, city lights, drinking scotch scenes.
Yeah. I think it was when they were planning something. What take us, gents? That's a horrible everything. Delete it.
So this movie had some strange trivia. Nothing really outstanding, but one thing of note that kind of dates the movie was filming was temporarily halted so the cast and crew could watch the night that President Obama was elected president. So it kind of just sets it in a time place there. Yeah. And that's the most interesting trivia I could find. Besides yours of stunt work.
Oh yeah, Chris Brown apparently did 95% of his own stunts. That's according to T.I. and the director. Yeah. The two most credible witnesses you could have.
So we'll get into it in the film.
He was a parkour guy too.
There's about a 5-minute sequence of him escaping cops. And
if he did all that, I am kind of impressed.
He beat up about 27 people during that sequence. Yeah. So
using his real life experience.
Yeah. Life imitating art.
Let's just get out the fact that Chris Brown's a dirtbag.
We all think he's pure shit.
So it's there. It exists. We don't like really talking about him, but we have to for the film.
Yeah. And we're going to avoid his character, but just note we all dislike his character.
Yeah, there's nothing really
not his character in the movie. His character in the movie, but his real life character.
He just exists.
Yeah.
So therefore,
the Rihanna domestic abuse incident happened definitely during the production of this filming. Or of the film too, especially if they were watching Barack Obama get elected. That was in 2008, and I believe the Rihanna incident was in 2009. So,
so it's what it is.
Yeah.
But back to the trivia at hand. The director Lucien Hop opted to shoot the film digitally using a Panavision Genius.
Right.
No, actually it's Genesis. Panavision Genesis, which actually is a pretty commonly used digital film camera. I think The Phantom Menace was one of the films we saw shot with it.
Okay.
Saw a couple other ones.
Superman
Returns. Yeah. But the problem I noticed it, and I pointed it out to John and Scott right away, was this is shot on some kind of digital video, and it's painfully obvious to me.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But it was kind of distracting for me. But I don't think overall, because I knew, but.
I only really know the difference when I see them side by side. Yeah. We pulled up a video that has them side by side. You can see that the colors are richer on film.
Yeah.
And then digital looks, I guess, more like real life, you were saying.
Yeah, it looks...
I can't really even tell.
it looks between looking out a window and a sports game on a TV.
Yeah.
It's just kind of... I don't know.
It's different.
It looks real so much that like it doesn't look real.
Yeah.
And then film just looks nicer.
Sure.
But I mean, it wasn't noticeable all the time. It was just certain shots were just like very highly obvious.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so
once you pointed it out, I was like, yeah, that does look different.
yeah, it just looks a little cheaper when it's like
Sure.
not set up perfectly. So you could tell they had decent equipment, but maybe not the best people running them. No offense to anyone.
I mean, the cinematography left a lot to be desired too.
Yeah,
So this wasn't really a visual treat.
Yeah. Although some people might disagree with you, like one Stephen King.
One of the strangest possible fans of this movie, but Stephen King really loved it.
Yeah, his quote is, "This satisfyingly complex cops and robbers movie features great performances, and the armored car heist is the best action sequence I've seen this year." That was in 2010.
I would disagree with all three of his
Yeah.
assertions. In that, like, not satisfyingly complex,
No.
not great performances, and probably not the best action sequence of the year.
We saw a
for
couple of
sure.
the other...
Yeah, he put it as number 5 of his best films of 2010.
Yeah.
2 behind Inception.
yeah, Inception. There's something else there that had some kind of...
The Town.
The Town,
Yeah. How can you think that this has the best action sequence
Yeah.
of the year when The Town had a better armored car sequence? I don't see it, but I don't write a dozen books a year, so what do I know?
So, we still like you, Stephen King. Love to have you on the show.
Yeah, Stephen King, love to have you on the pod. Talk about anything. I'm sure you're not busy.
Yeah, writing your 12 books a year.
Yeah.
So.
So let's get in this plot. It seems really strange, but in reality, like, not a ton happens.
Yeah.
It starts with a successful robbery of a bank on the 51st floor of a building, which I've never seen a bank that high, but...
Now that I sit and think about it, there's a lot similar with this plot and Gone in 60 Seconds.
Yeah, I guess so. Starting with a robbery. Most of the movie's the prep for another one that's disappointingly short.
Yeah, and then there's some double crossing and a like Mexican standoff at the end.
Yeah, this is also pretty similar to Heat.
Yeah.
Heat's so much better.
Yeah.
But most of the beats that this movie hits, Heat hit harder.
Definitely.
Yeah. So...
From the blurring of the lines between the villains and the cops, the complexity of their lives.
Yeah.
The like prestige shots of people's cool apartments in LA.
Yeah.
Like so much.
Staring out the night sky.
Yeah, the lights of LA twinkling in the background.
Problems with your personnel and your crew and having to make adjustments.
It really was just a
guy.
much worse version.
Yeah.
So we start with a robbery on that bank. They've set up in an abandoned floor. They go out of their way to show you how smart every detail was. They make the robbery and they call the news, I think, or the cops, and the news picked it up. But Paul Walker has one of the accountants or something. She hits an alarm, and then he has her call the cops. And waiting on the roof was Hayden Christensen. Our introduction to him was so weird. He was just like leaning and smoking a cigarette in a guard's uniform. But I think this part of the plan was already pretty far-fetched. They banked on whatever call they made to get a newscopter to come and land on the roof without clearance. Because the pilot even mentioned that. So if in real life, they probably aren't landing, right?
Yeah, probably not.
Yeah.
I mean, they'd have to know that one reporter, that plucky reporter who's going to go for the story is
Channel
right
14,
there.
even though they're last on the ratings.
Yeah.
They made sure to say that.
Maybe that's why. Their reporters are always putting their lives at risk.
Bold move to land on the roof of the building that
is being robbed actively. Yeah. Well, Hayden Christensen his character's AJ. AJ was in a guard uniform waving them in, so maybe you see that and you're like, maybe we can get a really good shot. Yeah. But, of course, they stick them up too, and everybody gets out. We should mention our whole crew at this point. We have AJ, of course, Hayden Christensen. The leader's Idris Elba's character, was his name Gordon?
Cozier?
Gordon Cozier? Yeah, Gordon.
Yeah.
And then we have Michael Ealy and Chris Brown playing the Attica brothers, Jesse and Jake. And then Paul Walker's character, John Rahway, I think.
They're all named after prisons or something like that.
I think Rahway is a prison, and Attica, yeah. But we do have a noticeably absent T.I. at this point.
We do cut to him.
Yeah, after this point. So they get in the helicopter and they fly away, and I just love they fly over the Dodger Stadium and all of their like impossibly perfect cars are waiting for them. They blow up the helicopter, no one looks back.
Yeah.
It's as cool and smart and suave as it could be.
It's a character intro, for sure.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not a good one.
Yeah, the movie goes out of its way to make sure you know they're smart criminals.
Yeah.
Because then when the cops come to investigate this robbery, they're always like, oh, they had cameras in the elevator.
Yeah.
They knew what to do and all this. So.
Yeah.
But it always went out of its way to show you that.
And that part almost kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
That they mentioned later, too, one specific detail, which is they have like a year between each gig, so they plan out extensively. Which should have been their first sign not to do anything crazy in this movie, but
It was,
yeah.
and then they did.
But yeah, so we cut from there to the cops, like you said, investigating. We have Matt Dillon
Yep.
and Jay Rodriguez.
Jay from
Hernandez.
Suicide Squad. So
Yeah.
sort of his double dip.
Yeah.
We did the special on Suicide Squad.
So that's true.
Yeah.
Love
Love to have you on the pod,
A lot of
Jay.
veterans.
Yeah. A lot of guys who have been in our crappy movies.
Yeah. Law of averages there. But no, there are two cops investigating.
They're real hard boiled.
They're chasing some Haitians.
Yeah, there's an early unrelated to everything. I don't think the Haitians came back in, did they?
No.
Yeah. Where they're just going to bust whatever these Haitians are doing. I just remember they started on the radio, Haitians.
Yeah.
And
They go for the bus.
Matt Dillon goes one way to go after a guy, and Jay Hernandez, his character Hatch, stays and is taking care of some other folks.
I don't think Matt Dillon passed police academy. He's one of the
No.
worst cops I've seen in a movie in a long time.
I don't imagine he follows a single protocol.
I don't think he even knows what Miranda rights are.
Nope, never.
Yeah. I don't think he knows constitutional rights. He's just out there.
He handcuffed this criminal and then kicked him a few times while he was down.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they're never wearing like police uniforms, other than
No.
one scene. But
He's wearing like a wife beater with like his chest hair
Yeah.
poking out.
Which I think that's all Matt Dillon wears.
Yeah.
So
yeah, Matt Dillon could be bothered to go to costuming.
he runs upstairs, sees his partner Jay. I don't know
Yeah.
if his actual Hatch. I think Hatch is his name.
Yeah.
Like surviving from
He's, like,
this guy who
bloodied.
got away.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so he's like, okay.
I made a note like right here. I said I already know what the
Yeah,
twist is
you
going to
did.
be, and I wasn't exactly right with my head. I thought Hatch was going to betray Jack and be working with our main criminal
Takers.
gang or the
Yeah.
Takers. Yeah, that didn't turn out to be the case, but we'll
That'd
get
have
to
been
it.
too twisty, but honestly, it would have been more exciting than
Too
what actually
twisty.
happens.
That should be the name of a Takers 2. Too twisty.
You bring Twista in.
Takers 2 twisty. Yeah, you bring in Twista.
He can talk really fast, so he'll be good.
He could be like an auctioneer.
Yeah. That would be a
Dude,
great
that's
job.
it.
Robbing an
They
auction.
gotta
I'll write that down.
auction.
Yeah.
Yeah. Too twisty.
So our next scene though is T.I.'s character Ghost getting out of prison.
Ghosting prison.
Yeah, he just leaves. Nothing really significant happens in the prison, but
They're like,
he.
you getting out? Whatever his actual name is.
Yeah, I didn't write it.
Sinclair
So.
or something.
Sinclair, yeah.
As soon as he gets out, though, then he grabs a box with like a Glock and some money from
Yeah,
like, a
I want to know
trash
how
can.
long that was there.
Yeah,
5 years at least.
5 years.
Or-
At least.
Well, so then he goes to these Russians. It's possible that the Russians had set it up for him or something,
true.
but he then goes to these Russians because of his buddy on the inside, like Chekhov or Dmitri or something very generically Russian,
It's like
told
a,
him to go
a
there.
shitty Jamie Lannister answers the door.
Yeah.
He throws one dude over his shoulder and holds up the Russians like, we gonna talk now.
Yeah. He was like, let's talk business.
Yeah.
He was like,
And
now
there's, like-
that's what I'm talking about. I remember he said that at one point.
There's 3 Russians in the back, or 2 Russians who just got their U.S. citizenship and are celebrating.
Yeah.
And that's explained about like an hour later.
It comes up again when
Right.
they're investigating the suspects.
But if you don't know that, it's just like 2 or 3 dudes in USA clothes just saying.
Yeah. It was super strange.
Yeah. It's a moment that, like, had they never mentioned again, I don't think I'd be upset about because it was at least, like, funny and different.
The fact that it was a plot point was more upsetting.
Yeah, exactly. So
The one other key thing is here, his identification was his prison wristband. Is that actually a thing, prison wristband? Do you always have to wear a wristband?
if you want to drink at the show.
That's true.
I don't think in prison, maybe when you're released going through processing.
Yeah.
Maybe, yeah.
You feel like you'd take that off immediately, though.
Yeah, really. Maybe he knew it was ID or something.
right.
But, he had to use that as his identification with these Russians, though, because that comes up again, too.
That's true.
The little details of the movie do come up again.
Yeah.
There's never things that they really show that are totally unnecessary.
Speaking of Chekhov, that's Chekhov's gun, where they show you something and then it comes into use. This movie does it for like everything.
Yeah.
Every scene where they cut to something, that thing's coming up again. Probably immediately.
It'd be different if it was just there and they never like showed it, but it was in the details. So
Yeah.
you went back and watched it. That might work.
Yeah.
But come on.
Yeah.
It's like so obvious. So
The next series of scenes is just them showing how suave and how well-to-do and how smart our takers are again.
So they all party after their heist, do whatever they must. We see the Attica brothers at some private club, I guess, that they just live at. And
we forgot to mention Zoe Saldana's in this movie.
Yes, she's for about 45 seconds of acting time.
One day on set, probably.
Yeah. So the what's the character's name? That's not Chris Brown.
Jake Attica.
Okay. So Jake, he goes and he's counting money with his brother.
Yeah. Chris Brown. Jesse.
So Jake and Jesse are counting money while AJ plays piano downstairs. Yeah.
That's a perfect description for AJ's character. While he plays piano downstairs.
Yeah. They discuss how they had a heist and how it was good.
Yeah.
I don't really think they discuss much else.
No.
Then Jake goes downstairs and he's talking to AJ and he's like, AJ's like, you trust your brother with that money? He's like, yeah. And if he leaves with all the money, just shoot him.
He's like, I will.
Yeah, he's like, I will. And then Jake goes and makes out with Zoe Saldana for a while and gives her an engagement ring or something.
Can't blame him for any of that.
Yeah. So, and it's one of those moments where you're just like, you're too good for this. But I mean, it was 2010, but still, she was too good for this.
Yeah, this was a little below her
just like,
standard fare.
But
then
like we said, she only had
Walker.
about 40 seconds.
Yeah, she was barely in it, so you can't really blame her that much.
Yeah. So we cut to Paul Walker.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Paul Walker.
He wades into the pool. Remember with his
infinity pool.
with his United Nations of choice escorts.
It shows that he's diverse, I guess, and sort of a playboy.
It just shows him ass out, walking
he's
into
this pool.
He's
one of the most flat characters in this movie. Too.
Right.
There's nothing to his character.
He was easily the least complex of them. At least Jesse and Jake have the brother relationship. Idris Elba, Gordon, he has some stuff, but
does he have anything tying him down or any personal conflict at all?
He legitimately has none.
Yeah.
Even with AJ, he's artistic. He's covered in tattoos. He has weird fashion sense. There's something there that drives you there.
Yeah.
I can't think of
Paul
anything.
Walker's just Paul Walker.
Yeah, he's literally just Paul Walker.
He drove the coolest vintage car, maybe, but even that, it's it's in the movie twice.
The closest we get is shortly after his three-way scene. T.I. does show up and talk to him, and they have some discussions where Paul Walker seems like he's showing some character there.
Yeah, but he really isn't.
That's the only scene where he ever has any depth in it, where he's like, we started this crew, man. I don't want to leave you there, but it's always been the agreement. We've always agreed.
Yeah.
If one of us goes down, you just go down and you don't talk. Yeah,
T.I. does mention bringing him into the crew and Paul Walker was stealing cars or something. So maybe T.I.
You
owe me this. I did this for you back in the day, so you should be my liaison back into the scene. Yeah,
T.I. said him and Gordon, which is Idris Elba's character, were kind of the OGs maybe of this crew, and they brought him in. So.
Yeah.
I don't know. His character really had nothing though.
Yeah.
If we're being honest. Because then from here, so that was after T.I. breaks into his apartment. Yeah. Then the next scene is them partying again. Next with the Dutch Antilles scene, don't we? With Scott.
Yeah, oh god.
So this scene annoyed me so much. This was another way they tried to show you how smart they were. Their financial advisor, Scott, is saying something about investments. We'll invest some money here in the Dutch Antilles. And then all of them make a quip that they read in The Economist or something. Yeah. Because first AJ was talking about it'll take 4 to 5 years to liquidate, whatever. And then each of them said something like that. And I was just like, all right, we get it.
Yeah.
They're smart.
AJ says something weird, it's a beautiful day at sea. I don't know, he says something strange.
Yeah.
We all just started laughing at it.
Then T.I. goes and buys all these fancy suits at a Lonsdale store.
Yeah.
And maybe it's supposed to be deep, he wants to be sophisticated like them. But really I think T.I. just wanted to wear suits in this movie.
Yeah.
Because that's his wardrobe from then on.
He's wearing a suit or a construction worker's outfit.
Yeah.
Or a caricatured costume.
Yeah.
Traffic
cop, with the sharp hat all the way down to his eyes.
Traffic cop, construction worker, fancy suit.
That's a true man's wardrobe.
Yeah. That's all you really need.
So we have a cologne sequence here.
Cologne sequence.
Yeah. Where
all the guys is
the guys they all show up in their fancy cars again at the Attica Brothers Club.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And they're all in fancy suits. There's jazz music playing.
Yeah.
It's comedic how silly it is. It's a 30-second montage sequence of them walking through a parking lot.
Yeah.
And I think AJ jumps up and does a heel click at the end of it.
Yeah.
No, I think that was either Jesse or Jake. I think.
Oh,
yeah.
Really? It was one of the Attica brothers.
Yeah, it was one of the Atticas, I think.
So one of them jumps up and heel clicks, and it's pretty strange.
It's definitely.
If it had freeze framed in instead takers.
That should have been the trailer.
It's just welcome to LA.
Yeah.
But they all go into the club, and then T.I. kind of Ghost ruins their party. They're talking about, this is where they mention, we always leave a year between jobs. That's not bad, though, you know? You've got to think, like, maybe a month of prep, they do serious stuff, then the job.
Up to this point.
Yeah.
So yeah, T.I. shows up. He's like, I got this plan. It's awesome.
He's swaggering around.
You have to do it.
Every time the whole group's together, also, Hayden Christensen looks so out of place.
Yeah.
It shows how dorky he is, because Paul Walker's character looked totally fine, with surrounded by all these cool guys, and then, because he's a cool guy, Hayden Christensen's just not.
It's just being like Hayden Bieber, with bowler.
When T.I. showed up, he should have been like, I'll just go play the piano. Just tell me what we're doing.
But no, there is some soft beef between T.I. and one of the Attica brothers. Because
between Jake and him.
Jake is now with Zoe Saldana, who used to be with T.I.
That's where we got. They didn't say like what level that was.
Yeah.
But
well, he did later at the end. He was like, "You stole my bitch."
Yeah. So, but that still could mean anything.
That's true.
Wife, girlfriend, side piece. You know.
I think for T.I. it means one thing. Oh. Anyway.
Ghost pitches them this new plan, though, for a robbery later that week.
Yeah.
Like 5 days.
From now.
Yeah. Of how they're going to rob an armored car. They go over the whole plan. There's always 2 armored cars, but there's never money in the second one. And how it goes over this train system and all this. It honestly wasn't even that convoluted. It was literally just, we'll go to the train system, we'll blow up the road, we'll take the money, and then we wait another year. Yeah. But T.I. said, we do this plan, and then you could give me my money from before, and we're like even or something like that. Yeah. But they're all very trepidatious with him, because I guess the plan is always just cut the cord totally.
Here's what you do. You say, okay, T.I., let's do that.
Yeah.
And then you meet up with him when you go to discuss it, and then you shoot him. Or you give him his money, and then immediately shoot him.
Yeah.
That I couldn't express that earlier. Why it bothered me so much. Like, there's so many better solutions where everybody lives except T.I., who doesn't survive the film. So it's just
spoilers.
Yeah.
The plan wasn't always to kill him, though. The plan was to, I guess, be straight up with him and get him his money, do his plan and stuff. Yeah. They're all very
no, and I get that.
cautious about him, and they're all worried that he's gonna like blow up their spot.
I'm just saying, if I was like Idris Elba in this film, T.I. literally says like, I went to you, Paul Walker, because you have a heart. Everyone else doesn't. Yeah. So like, you'll hear me out and then pitch it to them.
Yeah, it's funny that maybe that's Paul Walker's character trait in this. Like, he's the one with the heart. But then when it comes down to the big heist, he's the one that would snipe T.I. if they needed to. Yeah. And he wanted to real bad.
Yeah,
he was like, I'm ready, finger on the trigger.
He's like, tell me when. Then he's the one who also jumps down, attacks everyone else, does all that stuff, and steals a truck himself. So
yeah, maybe his character is just getting shit down.
Yeah.
Our next 45 minutes to an hour of the film is between 2 plots. Our A plot, which is our takers planning their route and everything, drilling the holes in the road and filling it with a bunch of like C4 putty. That looked like a ton of C4 to me.
Oh yeah, it looked like probably too much because I think that stuff's pretty powerful.
Yeah, I think also, like 2 blobs of that would have been fine. Probably.
It looked like that biscuit dough you get in a can. You have to break up. They're like stuffing biscuit dough up into these holes that.
T.I.'s like, that's C4, man.
Yeah.
The other thing Ghost did the whole movie was just narrate everything.
Oh yeah.
And it was actually pretty funny. Yeah. I don't think that was on purpose, but. He would be like, "Oh, that's cold," and
but
stuff.
I feel like the audience that T.I. appeals to would definitely be like, "That's awesome."
Yeah.
At one point, he was like, "There's a lot of tension in this room."
Yeah, like that's like his first line when he meets them again, and it's just like, "Yes, we get it."
Yeah. I said at one point, it's not that he's a bad actor; it's that he can only do that one T.I. voice.
Well, he's not an actor. Yeah. Like that's the other. Like, him and Chris Brown too.
He's like a reality actor now.
Yeah, but even that's totally different.
Right. But I mean. Chris Brown did deliver his lines a little bit better than T.I. for sure. Yeah. I think we were tainted because we hate him.
Yeah. His character didn't have like any nuance either.
Yeah, there's no depth there.
Yeah. So. He was just like throwing peace signs at security cameras and stuff.
The only time I was interested in his character when he was like buying 40 hot dogs.
Right. Yeah, we'll get to that actually probably really soon because the B plot that goes on during this point is Matt Dillon and Jay Hernandez.
Our
hard-boiled detectives. They're investigating these guys, and it starts with I don't even remember how they got the Russians.
C4.
The brothers.
Yeah, that's right. The connection to the C4. Yeah. They end up with these Russians and pictures from their night of celebrating when Ghost had gone to them. And it looks like a normal picture. And then they zoom in and there's a perfectly framed prison ID.
His name is like Dillon Devante or something.
Yeah. It was like Devante something. Yeah. But so from there, they start searching that, and they follow him, and they end up, along with his daughter, Matt Dillon had a daddy-daughter date where he just followed T.I.
Yeah.
They make you think,
kind of a standard LA thing, though.
Right.
They showed all these like shitty things that Matt Dillon was doing, and then they kept having what's basically like quality assurance for cops. Was it human relations or something?
Internal affairs.
Internal affairs.
Quality assurance for cops. That's funny.
They kept saying like, "Hey, we have to talk to you." Hey, and he was like, "Oh, shit,
Yeah.
whatever."
He's like, I don't work on weekends. Proceeds to work on the weekend a lot.
He kept ignoring them, and they kept making you think like he's a kind of a crooked cop himself.
Because you see him like beating people up for no reason and stuff.
At least a cop who's willing to bend the rules. That's how they kind of built it up. And he takes his daughter on a stakeout.
Yeah.
So it's like we see it, and
so on this stakeout, he follows Ghost to this hot dog stand where Gordon and Jesse are there, and so is John, Paul Walker's character. And then he's just watching them, and they're just being really strange. Chris Brown legitimately buys 6 hot dogs here.
And does he even contribute to the conversation? He's just there with his motorcycle parked on some stairs.
Yeah, like up a staircase.
Yeah, eating hot dogs and then just like leaves.
Because Ghost talks to Gordon, and then Paul Walker, John, he's kind of keeping watch. Chris Brown, maybe it was just a coincidence that he was there.
I think, they would meet up and discuss things or something.
But why wasn't Jake there?
I really thought it was going to be the hot dog seller.
That would have been the whole thing was a charade.
T.I., but that's the thing. If it was going to be someone disguised as a hot dog seller, it would have been T.I.
It would have been
yeah. What I enjoyed was T.I. orders hot dog with just relish.
You
like just relish?
No, I don't like that, but I just thought it was an interesting character.
I wonder if that's really his favorite.
Yeah, I wonder if they gave him that direction. Do you think they said, Ghost loves relish?
He's like, all right, I do what I can.
Yeah, or did T.I. order a hot dog and that's how he orders it?
Or like, it's green like money. He's like relishing his freedom.
He probably would have said, it's green like money when they put it on the hot dog.
That's trying to put too much.
And shrugged like, you should have known.
But yeah, so Matt Dillon sees this whole scene, and that's how he kind of starts following everybody now. Yeah. That's kind of where they catch up.
He also sees Jesse Attica throw deuces up and then speed off on his motorbike.
And that's a throwback to original
security
robbery.
Camera, one of the robbers did the deuces. So
yeah, and he knew that was the same. It was funny. In Heat, there's a scene where right at the start of the first robbery, what was it? Slick is that what he called?
Yeah, he calls.
Yeah, where one of the witnesses had heard one of the robbers call someone Slick, and then Al Pacino's character is like, investigate Slick. You'll find 1 million of them, but do it anyways.
And they have almost an exact mirror of that line in this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Get the prints.
You'll find 1 million of them, but like do it anyway.
Yeah, which is really funny. It's just another way it was poorly executed.
Yeah.
Because in Heat, that actually comes up again. He hears someone say Slick, and he sits down with them again.
Like,
and,
wait.
Yeah, say that again. Who's Slick? Here, it doesn't. No. Like that scene where he says, you'll find 1 million prints, get them anyways. Yeah, the guy never even gets the prints.
Yeah.
He probably forgot.
He's like, okay. Later.
Okay, so now we kind of catch up. There's a lot more planning. There's a lot of planning with no events happening to it. Yeah, no tension even in the planning.
One of the things they traded at the hot dog stand was a like Jaws of Life, like car cutter kind of thing.
And did that even?
That's what they
used it to get into the armored car, but still
they do a lot of explosives. They're always on like some track setting things up.
Yeah, you didn't really need to see any of it, especially since. I guess a quick spoiler, but it doesn't work. You don't need to see all the build up.
Yeah.
If it was like a mouse hunt kind of crazy contraption that they built and it worked, that would be cool to see the setup. But they show about 20 minutes of really dry, like just drilling.
At one point,
drilling scenes.
Yeah.
A little before or after this, we have Detective Matt Dillon go to Hatch's house, and he sees that Hatch has a kid who's sick and recovering.
It's his godson.
It is Matt Dillon's godson. He has a beautiful wife as well. Yep. He's living a pretty good life. And they're very close.
Here was the first clue, too. She was looking for jobs.
Yeah.
Just remember that, everybody.
Yeah.
That'll pay off.
And not Steve Jobs.
Yeah. One B-plot, or maybe D-plot, that we forgot to mention was Gordon and his sister, the Cozier siblings. His sister's like in and out of rehab. He picks her, or she leaves rehab like a week early, and he's mad. They're talking about going to the Caribbean where they're from again.
Yeah.
And then she spirals down, though.
I don't know if you've ever known anyone in rehab, but if they leave early, it's usually a terrible sign. So.
Yeah. I kind of picked up on that.
It was, yeah. I mean, it's just it was a decent part of the movie. I mean,
yeah,
it
that was
good,
actually the most compelling background of any of these
for
characters.
sure. And I felt for the characters about that, but yeah, no, it was definitely interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, there's stuff
she
to
does
do with that.
she does spiral too, and it's just one more thing that he has to deal with.
It's one of his liabilities.
Yeah, it's his liability for sure. But now we get to our plan.
Oh, we do see Paul Walker having a heart of gold here though, because he's like, "Bro, go find your sister. I'll do your digging tonight."
Oh, he does? I didn't even catch
That's
that.
true. Yeah, he
Yeah.
just let him get
He's
out
like,
of the
"I got your
car
shift."
and go search for it.
Yeah.
That's because Paul Walker's character didn't even have anything else going on.
Right.
But this does lead us to my favorite moment in the entire film.
Hit me.
So Cozier is going around looking for a sister, can't find her, and eventually somehow finds out she's been taken in by the cops.
Oh, yeah.
He goes to the police
yeah.
station,
Yeah.
and he walks in. He's like,
Where's
Processing.
processing?
Yeah.
Yeah. So he goes to get his sister. Matt Dillon shows up.
So
with
he
his
has to go around
partner.
to this different
Yeah.
door.
To the
So
left.
Cozier's
Yeah.
leaving out of a corner. Dylan and Hatch are coming in, going towards the other direction, and it does this weird like Matt Dillon flashes his badge to show he can go back behind the offices or whatever, and it does a weird like slow motion like zoom in
And like a flash.
And all I could think is because they're trying to frame both Cozier and Matt Dillon in the shot, and they forgot to film that. So in editing, they were like, right there, zoom in on that, slow that down. So it was hilarious. We all just started cackling.
It was
how
so
stupid. It was.
Like,
It was unnecessary. It was stupid.
there was like 3 slow-mo scenes in the whole movie, and all of them were very dumb like that, weren't they?
There were a lot
for
of
sure.
like kind of dumb tricks like that. There was like gratuitous shaky cam, slow mo
Yeah,
tricks,
the action scenes were all shaky cam.
like sweeping like 360-degree shots.
It was
They're using their tricks.
It was like the cinematography crew. They were just like, let's just try this.
It's
Yeah.
like, what have
This
you
is
heard
better.
of like doing? It's like, oh, let's do a full sweep. Like,
It's like, I watched this last night.
Yeah.
Let's try that.
Yeah. It had
after
no
this,
official style.
We see Matt Dillon go beat up a suspect again.
Yeah, who was on whatever mysterious drug along with Gordon's sister.
crack.
Yeah.
He says like
It was a crack.
crackhead sister.
Yeah,
So,
but crackhead can usually just be like a
that
general.
could just be like,
He's like, he gives his gun to Hatch, and he's like, I got this.
Yeah,
And you think he's gonna do interrogation? He walks in there
and just starts beating the shit out of him.
Yeah. And I was like, wow, this cop is just terrible.
You might as well have brought your gun.
Yeah. He gets the information he wants out of him.
Yeah,
Um,
but
And-
Gordon and his sister had already checked
yeah.
out.
He's like, me and my lady Naomi, we were just doing this and that, blah blah blah. Because he had the marked bills, that's why they had him. That's
Yeah.
right.
Oh, yeah.
And
From
so
the first
she's like,
robbery.
Naomi, what's your name? Naomi, what's your name? And he's like, I don't know, man. And then he asked the processing agent.
Yeah.
It's like, Naomi, who you brought in, who is it? And it's like, Naomi Cozier. And it's just like, he's shocked.
Yeah. But they had already gotten out at that point, so it was like, oh,
Yeah.
bummer.
Yeah. So it's
You're like, you didn't get that one.
Yeah. So they have a conversation, brother and sister.
Yeah.
She's
About
still
like, why are you
he's
still
mad.
doing
strung
this?
out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she's like, I shouldn't have ever raised you. And he's like, you're right.
Yeah.
You shouldn't have.
Yeah. So
And then she gets out of the car and leaves.
She
Yeah,
like
she
jumps
just-
She jumps out of the car, and then she's just booking it down the
runs off.
sidewalk.
And she doesn't come back for a while.
She doesn't come
No.
back till long
it's
after
really about
this.
a day later.
Yeah.
But, I mean,
It was an eventful day.
yeah, in the movie,
Yeah.
that is a long time. So
It gets her out of the movie so they can do all the other
yeah,
stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
So and then at this point,
Now we have our
we go
big-
into our big final acts here.
Our big heist.
So we have the A plot and the B plot. Which do we want to hit first?
A?
Okay.
Yeah.
So we start with that. We could jump back into B for just a millisecond
yeah.
because
Well,
then they kind of tie together.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
So the A is our setup outside this bank where the armored car is going to pick up the money, or where it's just happened to be passing because they know the route.
yeah.
They set up these cones so cars aren't there. They have T.I. down there as a traffic cop. They stop all the lights because they had hacked into that a little earlier. T.I. is doing a good job with this
Yeah.
traffic
Yeah,
cop.
he
He's
looked
waving them around.
convincing.
Traffic seemed to be moving too. That's
Yeah.
key as a traffic cop.
From this point on, for the big like sequence here, Ti narrates the entire thing, like you
Yeah.
said, and it's some of the funniest narration.
It's a lot of just like, wow, or
like,
didn't see that
yeah,
coming.
Just like
he blew
exclamations
that up.
while something
Yeah.
happens. Like, keep shooting.
Yeah.
got a man with a gun.
Yeah.
So the whole crew is down beneath the road there where they're going to blow it up, except for John, Paul Walker's character, and T.I., Ghost. Ghost is looking for John, and John is kind of camped out with a sniper.
Yeah.
Now, John, what was your problem with this?
My problem was that for most of the shots, you see that the caps are still on the end of the scope, the dust caps that are totally opaque and render the rifle completely unusable.
At least the scope.
Yeah,
unusable.
the scope. You could still shoot. There's no way you'd actually hit T.I.
He's that good though.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's that good. Maybe,
Paul Walker.
See, maybe he didn't want to actually shoot T.I., but he had to pretend like he was...
He was really gunning for it.
Yeah.
So we see the shots through the scope of him just looking at T.I. The truck's late. It's literally maybe a minute late.
Right.
And Paul Walker's like, I'll shoot him. Do you want me to shoot him? And everyone's like, shoot him.
He has his finger on the trigger.
Yeah.
And T.I.'s like, wait!
Yeah. And then it went back and forth too many times. Probably went back 4 times.
Yeah.
Where he was like, shoot him. He's like, I'll shoot him. He's like, don't. He's like, it's coming. He's like, I'll shoot him. It just went back like triangles like that.
That just confused me more as to like what sort of character Paul Walker is.
Yeah.
Like, is he heart of gold? Is he like the ruthless get things done? Like, how does he feel about
Especially
this?
because they've established history between those characters.
Right. But he's like, oh,
that'd be cold-blooded.
Yeah.
If the truck's a couple minutes late and they kill him in the street.
Right.
So then the truck does show up though, right when you think Paul Walker would do it. And as soon as the truck shows up, he packs up his rifle.
Yeah.
T.I.'s holding all the traffic back. Nobody's moving, and everybody's getting mad because they're waiting for the other cars that had already gone to pass their explosion zone, which was good. It showed that they did have... Yeah, they were professional. They didn't want, like, undue casualties. Collateral damage. They let the truck through. They're talking like 50 yards, 25 yards, get ready to blow it. And then a cyclist comes screaming out of nowhere right in front of the truck.
Yeah.
And when they do their explosion, the truck had to slam his brakes because the cyclist gets lit up. Because the whole street falls out.
They never addressed that, but...
you just saw his bike flying.
I did not like that a cyclist messed up the gig.
No.
It wasn't my favorite thing. I thought it was kind of cheap. Because it was just like chance.
Yeah.
But it wasn't like the most compelling chance. It would have been more interesting to me had like Hatch and Detective Matt Dillon like somehow accidentally stopped the heist, somehow like messed it up. But with it just being a rando cyclist in LA, I'm just like, okay.
It's hard to picture another way to get it to like fail in that specific way, I guess.
Right.
But what if you got like a flat tire or something?
I mean, it could have been the explosives.
That would have been
the explosives were hooked up wrong.
Right.
It could have been user error on that side. I get that they're the best.
Yeah, they already established that they're impeccable at everything.
I mean, there's so many ways where it could have gone haywire that just felt a little bit more satisfying than that. It's a minor gripe, I get, but it just was like, okay.
If everything went right, it wouldn't have been compelling.
No, for sure. So I do think it needs a misstep.
Yeah.
But it's also like it would have been more, I think, compelling for me had the misstep made them trust
Ghost
either more or less.
Yeah.
So
what if like Ghost forgot to like he let them go and then just stopped being a traffic cop, so everybody started going and flooded everything out? That would have been
like there's so many ways to make it where it's just more.
Yeah.
It matters more to the story. So like I said, it's a minor gripe.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I mean the movie's not honestly written all that well.
Yeah. And
like the twists and turns of the plot make sense. It meanders its way there, but in the details, it really doesn't.
For sure.
Bring
but even like the method of just blow up the street and the truck will fall down. That's happened in another movie.
Yeah, we were trying to. The only one I could think of was in Skyfall. But I think it's a train. Yeah, it's not cars. Like a train goes from a top track to a lower track. But I can't remember the specifics of it either.
But that's like this movie. Like somene's thought of that. Like heist movie, been done. Blow up a road.
Yeah, there's no originality.
Been done movie in a long time.
Yeah.
So they have like a big shootout with the guards.
The trucks don't fall in.
Because
they're doing the shootout.
They stop short because the cyclist.
So Paul Walker just gets in the back truck and rams the front truck down the hall, and then he drives it through too and like gets a concussion.
T.I.'s narration here is like rooftop man with a gun, and stuff like that. I'm like, what?
Yeah, he's like, oh, he's gonna bash it, stuff like that. It's just like his character wasn't shooting or helping at all.
Standing there. Yeah.
It makes me, or we wondered if T.I. wrote his own lines, or they're just like, just say what's happening.
Is T.I. above a script?
Maybe
them.
I can see him being above
Maybe
memorization.
Memorization's what he is above. So they have the shootout. They end up getting the money using those like jaws of life.
Mm-hmm. So step back to the B plot for a second. The internal affairs finally grabs Matt Dillon. They're like, we have to talk.
Yeah, and he's like, look, I'm a little rough and tumble, but don't worry about it.
Yeah, and they're like, we're not even worried about you, bro.
Yeah.
It's your buddy. Yeah. So they show him
the Haitian bust.
From the other reverse side, the window.
Yeah, they're like, we had surveillance the whole time.
And he's like, oh man, get out of here. And then he like takes all the Haitian dude's money.
This is Jay Hernandez.
Yeah,
his partner
Hatch.
Yeah.
Why would he not have known about surveillance? You'd think
they'd know,
like, hey, we got the surveillance.
And he could have, but he wouldn't even think to look at it, you know?
Yeah.
When we saw it, so this isn't the kind of movie that would leave out that action because when Matt Dillon goes back to Jay Hernandez in that first Haitian bust scene, Jay Hernandez has like a bloody nose and stuff. That's how I knew that something was up there, because they would have shown that fighting.
Yeah, no, that's
because it's not told from one perspective. Like, it's not just Matt Dillon's story or anything. So when Matt Dillon's doing his thing, they'd cut back there and show them wrestling or whatever.
So
you see Hernandez taking money and stuff.
Internal Affairs is just like, we're gonna bust him tomorrow.
Yeah.
And it's like, sorry, dude. And Matt Dillon's just torn out.
Disappointed.
Yeah. And then Hatch finds him right away. He's like, let's go to work, or whatever he says.
Yeah, it was weird. He was like, what'd they want? He's like, oh, it's just a warning, let's go. And then they get down to their car, and then he talks to him, which I didn't really... maybe out of
private. Yeah. So he's like, why'd you take the money, dude? He's like, what do you mean?
Yeah.
He's like, why'd you take the money?
Then we got some good Hernandez tears here.
Yeah.
He was talking about how his family was like tight on money and stuff.
Yeah.
His kid, they mentioned, was on dialysis.
Right.
And his wife got laid off, so he just needed the money.
So he was doing it for good reasons.
Yeah.
He's thinking like, oh, it's criminals. It's, who am I?
So
really
even
hurting?
Hatch had more depth than Paul Walker.
Yeah.
There was a sort of compelling scene. The Jack and Hatch relationship was actually pretty, probably the best developed one. But Jack was like, why'd you come to me, man? I would have helped. You're my brother.
Yeah.
And stuff like that.
I'm his godson.
Godfather.
Yeah. And I can see why you wouldn't, just out of embarrassment and stuff. But I don't know if that's a compelling enough reason to steal from like criminal. Well, it sounds weird when you word it like that. Like, it sounds like Robin Hood, but I don't know. Maybe it was fine.
Well, he let the guy go too.
Yeah, he did let the guy go too. He's like, you've been my partner for 6 years.
Yeah.
The money probably also should have been taken into evidence.
Yeah.
So.
But what good would it do there?
Protocol, really,
when you're a desperate man, maybe those thoughts would be your mind.
For sure.
But the fact that they let him go was kind of damning.
So then we cut back to in the middle of the heist, and they're driving around. I don't know for what reason, but
I think they were just like going to work or whatever.
Detective Matt Dillon's like, we're not going.
Yeah, they hear the call.
He's like, I'm still a cop, man. Yeah. I'm still a cop.
And then Matt Dillon's like, oh, that's right. And then they go.
Then they go. Yeah. And they get there after.
Actually, the "I'm still a cop" line makes sense when you bring back in the perspective that they're going to fire him the next day.
Yeah. Right.
She's like, oh, I'm still a cop, like I can help. Yeah. Let's make it a good one. They end up somewhere. I don't know how they ended up in specifically the subway, but now we have Chris Brown.
The crew scatters.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah.
Everybody has a duffel bag.
Yeah.
They're going their separate ways. Chris Brown's just kind of tiptoeing.
Eating an ice cream cone in the subway and checking out, leering, I think was the word.
That was T.I. T.I. was leering.
Chris Brown did some leering.
Yeah, Chris Brown leered too.
Yeah.
So.
He's leering at some ladies, and then Matt Dillon busts him up. And then we have our pretty much only lengthy chase in the whole movie. And it was on foot. So if Chris Brown did all his stunts here, that's pretty impressive, because there's a lot of parkour.
It's hard to believe. It's him jumping stories down
I feel
onto a moving car and
the parking garage down to the next level.
They showed a lot of forward shots of him doing stuff.
He was definitely
doing
that.
Those.
Yeah.
There's some outlandish behind scenes and some scenes where he's you can't see his face, when he jumps through a window this big.
Yeah, he jumps through a window that's 1 foot by 1 foot.
So there's some stuff like that where you're like, that's probably a really skinny dude, and they just either superimpose his face or doing a show with it.
Yeah. Because the other thing, the action in this movie cuts so much because they don't have an effects budget to do really splashy effects. So it's very difficult to comprehend.
Jesse Attica here does more parkour than I've seen since, I think you mentioned Casino Royale when we were watching it. Yeah.
It was like that. It was that long.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're going from the subway across streets through buildings, and they end up in this one office.
A restaurant.
Yeah, there was a restaurant in one of these buildings, with a kitchen.
Where Chris Brown assaults 1% of Los Angeles.
Yeah, he's running through these crowds.
It's crazy. It's like if you've ever played Assassin's Creed. You can't run in that game without knocking everyone down around you. It's not.
It does look like he's extending his arms, purposely pushing people out of the way.
Which I would get if it slowed down anyone behind him. Yeah, but it doesn't.
No, he's just for fun.
Hatch and Matt Dillon are chasing him the whole time.
I'd like to think those extras didn't know that was going to happen, and Chris Brown was just busting them down.
He's like, I'm a method actor. This is just my method.
There's one lady that really just gets slammed into the wall.
Concussion for sure.
Gosh.
And Chris is off of the movie, babe.
He runs, he runs through a bank, a building, ends up in a restaurant, and ends up in the kitchen.
Yeah, I don't remember how him or Jay Hernandez and Matt Dillon get separated here. Maybe they just went two separate ways.
Yeah, they just went separate directions.
But we kind of have a slow hunting, Hernandez hunting Chris Brown, and
in a kitchen, which has also been done before.
Jurassic Park.
Yeah. I guess Hernandez is our raptor then.
Yeah.
But it ends up with Chris Brown's kind of just behind a corner, and you can see Hernandez walk by. And then there was like a big like cut in the music. The music picked up as Hernandez walked back like a shark. And then Chris Brown just like, busts out, and they're looking at each other. And you hear the gunshot, and the camera cuts. You don't see it. So now you see Dillon like chasing around trying to find out what happened. It was Hernandez who got shot.
Yeah, find that he got shot.
His first line as he's laying there dying was, "That dude's quick," or something like that. Like, he's really fast. It was very stupid.
Yeah.
But then we just kind of have your standard bleed out. No, like, wisdoms imparted or anything.
And he's like, "Take care of my wife."
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was his last line.
So we have a few things happen now. We cut back to the crew meeting up again. T.I. is separate,
Hotel, right?
though.
Yeah.
And T.I. calls up the Russian people he had talked to earlier and is like, "You know how I screwed you guys over for that deal? Haha. Guess what? You can get half your money back.
Yeah.
Go to this address at this time."
And they all meet up there, except, well, T.I. does go. Ghost does go to, it was this Roosevelt Hotel.
He goes, he's like a jerk to them for a little bit. They give him his original money, as well as, I guess he's getting his cut too.
Yeah.
Right.
And then,
he jumps out of the shower.
Well, Jesse Attica shows up, is like, "I shot a cop." And they're like, "What the fuck, man?"
And they're
so
like,
they're
"Oh, now you got a life sentence."
Yeah.
But he's like, he almost wanted me to do it or something.
Yeah.
He's like trying to defend himself.
It's like he loaded his gun and just looked at me like he wanted me to shoot him.
Yeah, that was very stupid in my eyes.
Yeah.
But
they could have showed that, or just not said it. You know.
I like that they set up that mystery, but there's only about 4 seconds of mystery because then Matt Dillon finds right away.
Yeah.
Right.
But it does get you thinking about which it was.
We do see Matt Dillon at the hospital, and the two investigators was like, "Yeah, he died a cop, man, so he's gonna get a cop's funeral, and he's gonna get a
full cop
pension and all that." So
that's a good point. This movie
maybe that is why he died then for his family.
You're not left in suspense for very long.
No.
Movie. It's
we talk about payoff a lot with comedies, but even dramatic payoffs necessary.
like a cop thriller.
Yeah.
I mean,
Heat. First off, Heat's 3 hours long, so anything's gonna be a little more stretched out. But there would be moments where it's very suspenseful, and those details come up hours later sometimes.
This
So.
is like minutes max.
If that, seconds.
Yeah. So T.I. runs the shower.
Yeah, and then just jumps out.
Gets it all super foggy. Jumps out a window. The Russians show up. There's a giant shootout. That's the loudest violin I've heard ever.
It's like just violin music and like feathers and dust and wood splinters. And
it was crazy. It was not possible to comprehend what was
not
happening.
a good crazy. Yeah. So
there's no good crazy. And but what happens here is AJ gets shot. We haven't really talked about Hayden Christensen that much. He's just kind of there though.
I feel like we did talk about him.
We talked about him early, but throughout the heist,
he's not really
and
there
stuff.
in the plot after that.
He was. They did mention he was like their planning guy.
Yeah.
There was that scene of him killing those dudes with a broomstick.
Yeah.
Him and Jake.
Him and Jake were the planners.
Are the idea guys, and they're pretty good at it. I mean, they come up with pretty solid plans. He did beat the shit out of like 4 giant Italian men.
The one that lifted him to the ceiling was crazy.
Yeah.
We're not describing it very well, but,
no, but
he gets shot here, and everyone's like hiding behind couches. It's like, AJ, you're gonna be okay. And then they run into the next room, and he's just like, I'm right behind you.
And you can tell him and Jake are close because Jake's like, dude.
Yeah, they're the planners, bro.
Yeah.
Then his death scene is so ridiculous.
He's already bleeding out of the chest.
Yeah.
Bullet through his body.
And the Russians are in the room at this point. He jumps up from behind this bar and does the full like John Woo sideways shooting 2 pistols.
He gets off like
the
7
Nicolas
shots.
And he gets like 8 feet off the ground.
Oh yeah,
the Nicolas Cage school of shooting there.
Yeah,
like just straight up.
It was ridiculous. And they don't even show him like getting blown up there. He just hits the ground just dead.
Yeah, you assume that as he was like in the air for about 8 seconds.
Slow motion here. That was like the second useless slow motion. It was such a crazy end.
The crew ends up in the bedrooms of the hotel room they're in.
Yeah. Russians are still plastering the walls with bullets.
They slide the beds and the dressers against the wall, but it's not really doing much.
No, I mean, they're beds and dressers.
You wouldn't think like a mattress would be the best, like,
bulletproof
barrier.
You definitely want the box spring.
Jake runs around the corner and sees that they have a shotgun dude that's coming for them. So then he somehow jumps through
He got out a window to a fire escape, out to the other side, and shot him from there.
And then gets the shotgun and goes and shoots the other Russians. They clear the room.
Other than AJ, everyone's unscathed.
Yeah.
The best part here was when they were over AJ's like corpse. Gordon takes his hat off and like puts it over his wound.
Yeah.
It was really stupid.
He said something here that we still couldn't figure out because he like whispered it.
Yeah, and the sound mixing in this movie was horrible. We had the volume at 100 the whole time.
Yeah, I don't think that was just us because like
no, that was definitely the movie.
You could hear it at other times. Other times it was way too quiet.
So
the next scene, it was really bad. The next scene is back at that club that they were at.
The Attica club.
Yeah, the Attica brothers find a dead Zoe Saldana, bullet straight through the head. She's like sprawled out on top of the bar too in a way that to me implied she may have been like raped.
There's no blood anywhere.
There's
also.
no blood. Yeah.
So
Wait, was this PG-13 or R? I can't remember now.
There's not a lot. There's not a ton of swearing.
Yeah, so it could have been PG-13. That'd be why there's no
titties.
blood.
Right.
Yeah, no, that's true.
Yeah, no titties either. There was just Paul Walker's bum.
Yeah.
But I think that was a body double too. I read that.
Really?
Which is a shame.
Yeah.
Paul
Where'd you
Walker's
read that?
very coy about his bum. I read it on the IMDb page.
Okay.
The coy thing
What's
too.
your source?
Yeah, about how coy he is. No, I just made that part up.
But
Yeah, so they're there like weeping about Zoe Saldana's death. For whatever reason, the cops pull up.
well, T.I. set him up. He killed Zoe
That's true.
Saldana and then called. So
Okay, they don't show that though.
yeah, they don't. But you can just assume it.
Yeah.
I just assumed that. I honestly don't know. There could be.
I didn't
something
care
else.
enough to even make it a
Yeah.
leap. But the conversation between the Attica brothers here, we had the volume at 100. Legitimately couldn't hear a
no
word
idea
that they
what
said.
They were whisperings.
I assume it was something to the effect of like, we're going down together, like
Yeah.
let's do this kind of thing.
Yeah, and they just like had like head turns at each
Yeah.
other. It was confusing,
Yeah, one of
essentially
them was
muted.
crying. They
Yeah.
go outside into these like bright cop lights.
They do this like head touch
Yeah.
to show that they're brothers.
They can't see
Yeah.
because the lights are so bright, so we can't see.
It's, like,
so then they just
saturated.
fall down as we're getting shot with
Death by cop.
shooting sound effects, but they don't show any of it.
Yeah. So there goes the Atticas.
Yeah.
Right.
Now we have Gordon and John. They kind of talk and they're like, "I'll meet you at the plane.
Yeah.
Gotta get out of here."
And then Gordon, he's driving home,
Yeah.
but when he gets to his apartment, he notices the lock has been kicked in because Detective Matt Dillon's going through his stuff.
Yeah.
Because when he heard Naomi Cozier, he was like, that's it. I'm going for it. Because he's gone rogue. He turned off his radio. He's gone full Martin Riggs. He wants to just kick some ass. He just rifles through his stuff. Sees, what was the
parking
Van
pass.
Nuys airport?
Yeah, for the airport.
The private parking pass,
Yeah.
which was like one of the sweet offers. That,
Their financial advisor was like, "If you guys want to come, I got parking passes."
Private parking.
So he finds that and knows that they're going there. Gordon had seen that his lock was kicked in and left, but when he went back to his car, his sister stumbled in that, 2 minutes?
Yeah.
Right.
And he was like, "She won't let me in the building." And he's like, "Okay, let's leave."
Yeah, come on, let's go to the Caribbean.
Yeah. So they drive away. They end up at the airport where he and John had realized that Ghost is going to kill Scott, their financial advisor.
Yeah.
He was also preparing to go to the French Antilles and
Dutch Antilles.
Dutch Antilles. Sorry.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Wedge Antilles.
Apologies to all the fans of the Dutch Antilles.
Yeah, I meant no slight.
Yeah.
So Ghost kills the financial advisor, ends up with pretty much all the
Kills
money.
the pilot too.
Yeah, kills everybody.
Yeah.
So he's walking with his briefcases out, and then Gordon comes out. He's like, "Where do you think you're going?" We have a standoff there.
Yeah.
Then Jack found out that they were going to the airport, so he shows up, and we have the Mexican standoff. All three of
Right
them.
before Jack walks in, though, like T.I.'s like speech is just like, y'all thought I was gonna be cool with like just my cut. I wanted everything.
Yeah. And he was like, "You left me to die." And he was like, "That's what we always agreed."
Yeah. Like Gordon's rebuttals were all highly logical. Like,
Yeah.
This was the plan.
Excuse
We
me.
always agreed if you go out, you go out. You know.
Yeah. And he was like, "Well, maybe I don't want that
Yeah.
anymore." And it's like,
like, you
clearly.
And so then Jack, walks out.
Yeah.
Detective Matt Dillon. He's just like, freeze, and they're all like, freeze, and don't move or I'll shoot.
And then they all shoot
They all
each
shoot,
other.
yeah.
I think this is the only time I've ever seen a Mexican standoff end with each person shooting both of the other people.
Yeah. And it cut between them so much that I didn't know who was shooting.
No,
who.
yeah.
For all I know, T.I. shot himself at one point.
Yeah.
Pop, pop, pop.
Yeah.
And then, so what happens here? They're all like writhing
Well,
around on
T.I.'s
the
the one who
ground.
survives the best.
Yeah,
and
he's
he's
standing
walking
up.
up to
Gordon,
and he's like, hey, guess you ain't gonna win or something. Guess I'm the taker. And
Something stupid
he
like
holds
that.
the gun there and is about to shoot him, and then boom, and
John Rahway
old Polly Walkie walks out.
shoots him down.
Yeah.
Old Pollywalkie.
Is that what he's called?
Apparently.
Yeah.
So he shoots him down. Then he sees the cop and he's like, "Well, we got the fuzz or something."
Yeah,
Yeah.
he kicks his gun away, and they
Yeah.
make there's like we're just gonna have to take care of this.
Yeah.
They make you think like he's gonna shoot him, and then
Yeah.
he just like turns and leaves.
Yeah.
He was like, "You're the cop with the girl." Like,
Yeah,
Yeah, you're the cop
that
with the
was it, 'cause we
daughter.
were all like, what?
Which is a very creepy thing to say.
Yeah.
You're the one with the daughter.
Like,
That's
how
We're
did-
gonna have to
voice.
take care of
How
this.
did he know that? Because didn't he just see the daughter in the window?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
How
it.
would he-
They must have seen both of them because they had a conversation. This is much earlier in the film.
Yeah.
They had a conversation where like, "That was a cop, right?" And they're like, "With a daughter?"
Yeah.
Yeah, cops don't have daughters.
Or like with a little girl, yeah. So then he and Gordon like limp off, So it's him, Gordon, and Naomi in the car driving
like two
away.
suitcases full of like an armored truck
Yeah.
of money.
Right.
For whatever reason, because they said, all right, let's get to the plane, and then they left the airport that shooting was at.
Right.
Like, why were they there if the plane was...
He says the same line that was like his first line in the movie.
Yeah, like
Idris Elba
something like,
does.
"Are we good?" And
Or
he's
like all signs point to.
yeah, all signs point to yes.
But he doesn't say yes, I think, this time. He just
Yeah.
said, all signs point to...
Dun, dun,
And then it just ends.
Yeah. So like Gordon's all shut up. You don't know if he's gonna stop. They kind of imply
Detective
that he
Matt
does.
Dillon
Yeah,
calls in the
same thing.
cops, and he's like, we got a man down.
Yeah.
Police officer
They're like,
down.
Police is help is on the way. You should be good. And he's like, should I? And just like ends on his part too.
Yeah. So we have two characters who were like pretty gravely wounded, and we don't know if they survive.
Yeah.
And then the movie ends
And that's
right
intentional.
there.
That's intentional that we don't know they survived.
Yeah.
So,
And that was one of the big problems I had with it. I think
Yeah.
all of us did.
yeah.
There's nothing satisfying about
Yeah.
it.
No.
What? How would you end it? Would you resolve whether or not they survived?
And you could just pick which way you wanted. Like
Yeah.
you could say
Do the Scooby Doo ending.
Yeah, like they all end up on the Caribbean, like sipping drinks and like
Yeah.
reminiscing about, and like hopefully Naomi's clean or whatever.
It could have been like a triple cross where T.I. actually was good, but they were trying to rat out like A.J. was a double cross.
Yeah, or something.
I mean, you'd have to change the whole movie to make
What
it
if
a
Naomi
satisfying
was an
ending.
undercover cop the whole time?
Or Saldana. I mean, something. you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
So
Give us something that like makes us watch to the end.
Yeah.
Or you just end it with like all of them get shot and die. Like
Yeah, like
That wouldn't be
they all
super
die.
satisfying.
That wouldn't be all that satisfying
Unless
either.
somehow it ties back to like getting revenge for Hatch.
Yeah.
So
It would be more. It'd be more final for
Right.
sure. But
you'd have to make Detective Matt Dillon more of a character.
Yeah.
Like more. He was a decent character, but you have to make him more the main character.
I mean, who would be the main character? This was truly an ensemble, but it would either be him or probably Gordon, Idris Elba.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're the most compelling
Yeah.
characters. for
Paul
sure.
Walker, I feel like was kind of lifted into that, but his character had nothing going
Yeah.
for him.
Yeah. The audience that this movie was made for would respect Paul Walker as a main character.
Yeah.
Right.
But
Yeah.
there's nothing there.
Yeah, but you definitely have to change the ending because that was not very satisfying.
Yeah. This movie needs an overhaul, like across the board for a lot of stuff.
You
It could be more
yeah.
unique too. It definitely needs to be more unique.
Yeah.
You could do just more interesting heists. The two heists that they do are so bland and
So
standard
standard,
that
Like every bank robbery.
is just
Yeah.
like that.
Or
And then
give me-
like
give me
every
a-
armored car robbery is pretty
Give me
much
an
like
airplane
that.
heist, you know?
A what?
An airplane heist.
Yeah.
Sure.
Some kind of skydiving heist. Give me something crazy with boats. Give me something. I mean, just there's so many weird things. Give me an internet heist. I don't know. Steal my bitcoins.
Crypto heist.
Yeah. Like, there's so many different things you can do to.
Even if you stick with the
apart.
bank, you can still do things that set it
Right.
apart.
Yeah.
Right.
It's hard to imagine like T.I. and Bitcoins in the same movie though.
Yeah.
That's true.
It's like I bid it.
So this is definitely like a low hanging fruit movie,
Oh,
but
definitely.
Yeah.
the music was also very bad. I said at one point
gosh.
that it sounded like it was all royalty free music that they just like downloaded.
One of you guys killed me by saying it sounds like the Blu-ray commercial music.
Yeah, 'cause
Like, check out Blu-ray.
we've been watching all these like
Yeah.
early 2000s DVDs when Blu-ray was revolutionary, and it's always clips from very bad movies usually, or The Matrix.
Yeah.
It's like some forgettable movie like Gone in 60 Seconds and The Matrix, and it's like Blu-ray's the ultimate experience at your home.
Which makes me think they just took the DVD commercials and like made the Blu-ray
Spliced
version.
them
Yeah,
in,
'cause
yeah.
those were the two movies you just named were definitely the DVD ad
yeah, for sure.
when DVDs came out. So
So it's like that, like wordless,
yeah,
hard, like
Yeah.
riffs.
there's like
Yeah.
there should have been rap throughout the entire film.
There should have been. There wasn't
Yeah.
a single rap
No.
song.
Yeah.
The only thing I
Like-
thought about, we didn't watch the end credits. Could there have been
No,
a rap
there
song
was.
There
there?
was something playing, but
it
it,
was
wasn't
really like
good.
generic.
You'd
Yeah.
think T.I. and Chris Brown would do a feature for this for the movie,
Takers.
right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, they
We
could've-
take-
Featuring
Takers.
Hayden Christensen.
I'm out.
that totally would have happened. They would have done a
Yeah.
song called Takers, had
Yeah.
some clips from the movie, and
Yeah.
music video, but instead you get like Blu-ray intro music and
Oh,
like
it's-
violin
Yeah.
swells during the shootout,
The shootout, the whole shootout was just covered with the loudest possible violin.
which wasn't really in any other part.
And
of
the
the
thing
movie.
is, like
No.
we said, the audience is kind of pre-built with the cast.
Oh, yeah.
It made money,
yeah.
but I feel like had it been just better in some way, like we don't even have a clear answer for how it could be better.
Yeah.
But we know that there's a lot of things that need to be fixed, and had they had any of those done, this movie probably would have had a lot more longevity.
It could have been a franchise.
Yeah, for sure.
Like if they maybe ended it differently where Jesse, AJ, and Jake don't all die. Maybe
Right.
one of them, AJ still dies, so you don't have to worry about Hayden Christensen
Yeah.
anymore. Or probably, Jesse should die because you're probably not getting Chris Brown again.
yeah, he's
Yeah.
a cop killer.
He's a
so-
cop killer.
So have
So,
AJ just get injured but come back.
yeah. And then you can set up another movie here where you
Yeah.
actually do something interesting.
Takers too.
yeah,
Yeah.
because now too many of
Take
the
it to the limit.
too many of the cast are dead now to really make a good sequel.
So.
Oh.
Yeah. Well.
Is that a Paul Walker thing or a character thing?
Both. Actually.
Yeah, that's true.
You'd have to get.
You could write him out of a sequel.
Maybe
though.
Naomi carries the sequel.
You could say like, he was allergic to Dutch Antilles food.
Dutch peanut butter.
Yeah, he was allergic to Dutch peanut butter. It's because they use real sugar.
Would you even want Naomi in the sequel? Because like you feel bad, like
her character wasn't that much other than Gordon's like obstacle.
Really, you make her OD to drive Gordon even further. I hate to say that, but it's
that would
or she's clean now.
More Heat comparisons. It's kind of like Natalie Portman in Heat, where it's driving that character's like background a little bit. Or
but Heat's so good.
Heat's so good. Yeah,
I'm so glad you watched.
Legitimately, the first Michael Mann movie. I told you that a while that I've ever seen.
You haven't seen him.
Yeah, and when I saw that the runtime was 2 hours and 57 minutes, I was like, "Is this Michael Mann's thing? Like, is it really long?" But
we can start a podcast called the Michael Mann Report.
Yeah.
Or the Michael Mann Minute.
Man up.
Man up with Michael Mann. I like it.
This movie really
Michael, loved having you on the pod.
It really is a worse version of that in so many ways. Even down to like the casting of like bring in, do an ensemble movie, but like don't make it good people. Just like,
well, there's good. Idris Elba's good.
Yeah, I mean,
I like Michael Ealy.
They're fine.
Matt Dillon.
If you want a scuzzy cop, he plays a scuzzy cop.
Yeah, he was born for it.
Yeah.
But he had De Niro and Pacino for one,
right?
The thing is,
which pretty much no movie is going to match prime De Niro and prime Pacino in the same movie. Yeah. And even they were only in the movie together. Well, yeah, but no movie like this is going to match.
I got you. Well, that's like if you're going to make a list of like top 20 movies,
both of them might be in it.
Yeah.
Val Kilmer, John Boy, Natalie Portman,
Tom Sizemore, and then all those little ones we mentioned. Yeah. There's the guy from the Allstate ads. I don't know his name. He's in it.
Yeah, he's in it.
There was tons of people.
He's actually like a fairly.
His name is Guy Allstate.
Yeah, Guy Allstate was in it. And every time it got to the point in Heat where every time a new character was introduced, we were like, okay, who is that? Because it's someone. It's such a good movie, and this just is so forgettable. I'd seen this before in theaters. I was part of that 20.5 mil opening.
Jeez.
I didn't remember pretty much anything about it.
And that's the sign of a really shitty movie.
Yeah.
Where you just forget everything. Where it's not where you hate it.
Yeah.
Like
I didn't hate it.
There's parts of Master of Disguise that I will always remember because of how much I hated it.
Mm-hmm. The reaction you get out of it.
Yeah.
This doesn't elicit much.
Yeah.
Will we really remember this like 3 months from now?
Scott won't remember it.
Yeah.
I have a track record.
Honestly, it'll like just float out of my mind.
Yeah, and that's fine.
Yeah.
The only thing I'll probably take away from this film is just that terrible zoom in shot of the badge.
Yeah, that was that's 0% memorable.
Yeah, so
I'll remember that Stephen King liked it.
Yeah.
And question everything about him.
I'll probably remember things like it was filming when Obama got elected.
Yeah, like stupid stuff.
Yeah, just nothing.
T.I. was in. Besides ATL, which I liked better.
What is ATL?
ATL is like a sort of a coming of age. Like T.I. is like he's like the responsible older brother trying to like shepherd his younger brother through like inner city life. And
do you know who plays the younger brother?
No.
No, that's just.
But one of the lines from the trailer was like, "You ain't got to be a dope boy to have money," which is like kind of sweet, but T.I.'s entire career and record catalog is built on him like aggrandizing himself and his prowess at drug dealing. So it's like not convincing at all. It's like it would be like if Chris Brown's line in this movie was like, "You should never put your hands on another woman," or like or something like that. So, like that's like what people know. Like T.I. like you do sell dope. Like that's why you're famous.
Hasn't he kind of developed into sort of the dorky dad of the rap game?
He's sort of taken like he's like the Atlanta version of Snoop Dogg. Like he built himself up like really popular rap career, some singles that everyone knows, but now he's just doing like rap housewives of Atlanta.
Yeah,
and, like
didn't he
T.I.'s family.
He dropped Iggy?
Yeah, because Iggy Azalea, he sort of like brought her into
he famously protected her, I remember, in the Iggy v. Nicki debate.
Right. But like Iggy Azalea came in at like a really bad time to be like an insensitive white rapper. Like, with all the
for sure.
And stuff. And she was like unapologetic, like I'm not stealing the culture, even though I'm doing this fake accent and I'm from Australia. And like
had she literally just rapped with like an Australian accent, I think all of that could have been avoided.
Yeah, but no, she was trying to sound like she was from New York. Anyway, she blew up. T.I. was trying to defend her, but he sort of jettisoned her once it got too bad.
I think he realized he was like, I got a career to.
All right, never mind.
I remember him saying at one point like it was all business.
Right.
Like I got to make a business decision, which I'm like, that's cold but true.
One of my standout memories of T.I. is you showed me, I think, a Vine or a Snapchat that he did of him on a Segway just like going through a hotel room.
Yeah.
And he was like, I'm going to order food or something like that. So I always picture him as like a dork now.
He's really popular on social media, and one of the like shticks or like things that people think are entertaining about him is he uses big words like unnecessarily. Like if someone was like, T.I., like, you're going to come out with another album, he'd be like, indubitably, I will release another record when the time seems opportune to me. And it's like, no one talks like that. That's like his thing is to like,
That's awesome.
I don't know.
That is funny.
But like he just sort of sounds like how he does in the movie, just like exclaiming at things. Like,
And I didn't even think it was that bad,
Nah,
if we're
he
being
wasn't.
honest.
I mean,
Like, they didn't really
he
do
was just
anything.
T.I.
Yeah. And it was compelling enough with the rest of the
Some of his music videos have like a 20-second intro where he's like being
Yeah,
T.I.
we watched
which is-
one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
This-
it's that.
this movie
So-
was pretty much like his
Yeah.
movie or his music video.
That's why it
intro
should have
character the
ended
whole time.
with
It should have ended with him doing a song and then had like the white words in the bottom,
Yeah.
so it makes you think the whole movie is just the intro to
Yeah.
this song.
Isn't that kind of like a Bollywood movie? Didn't they do that in Slumdog Millionaire? They had like a song.
Yeah, they did have a song at the end of
Yeah.
Slumdog.
T.I., yeah, it should have
It's a
ended with
good
a
song,
T.I.
too.
music
Yeah.
video.
This movie should have been more like Slumdog.
That's our final thoughts.
Yeah.
But do you guys have a problem with like getting non-actors to play prominent role, like musicians or like a sports figure, like in a movie? Do you think?
it seems a little
sports-
gimmicky.
Yeah.
Sports doesn't bother me as much unless they're
Right.
bad actors because I really don't pay attention to
Yeah.
sports.
Yeah.
I do for the big events, but Scott knows. Like
Yeah, but even that, I mean,
Scott will point out, "Hey, that was this athlete." And I'm like,
Right.
"Didn't know that."
indubitably.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, Ray Allen was awesome in He Got
Yeah.
Game, and Michael Jordan in Space Jam is Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
Some characters or some people are larger than life, so they can
Right.
kind of be those things. But
Those
in
are
this,
really-
it's like a gimmick.
And those are both movies about like what they're good at, which
Exactly.
is basketball. This like isn't.
You got like Common acts a lot.
Yeah.
Common, I think of more as an actor now.
Yeah,
because he's
yeah.
acted
Not
for so
bad.
long.
For a while, it was like, "Is that Common?" And now it's like, "That's Common."
That's Common.
Yeah. So,
Who else? I don't know. What's another like prominent musician to make the transition? Because sometimes actors will do music too.
Yeah.
I've seen Bon Jovi and stuff.
That doesn't surprise me.
Yeah.
I've seen. I mean, more. It's usually like you act and then drop a record.
Yeah.
Jamie Foxx.
Yeah, Jamie
Yeah,
Foxx
he does
is
music.
he's multi.
Will Smith did
Oh
rap
yeah,
music
Will
too.
Smith
so.
definitely. But those-
Miley Cyrus kind of did both there, but was she on the show before she started doing music? Hannah
The
Montana.
show was a musical show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
so,
Okay. So
yeah.
that's kind of natural.
Like J-Lo started as a dancer on
Yeah.
In Living Color, then moved to acting
Yeah.
and singing.
Beyonce's done some acting. I feel like it's almost natural.
Yeah, I mean, it's
But-
the triple threat concept.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And then it comes with like what you're saying. Like, is it necessary or is it
Right.
just
Oh, and-
for money or something?
we already mentioned him. Snoop. Snoop was in
Yeah.
Yeah.
Starsky and Hutch. I'm sure
Yeah,
some
yeah.
other-
I think it's like if you're good or if your character that you're playing like works, it's
Mm-hmm.
okay.
I feel like sometimes characters are written for
Yeah.
those people
Yeah.
too in some movies, and that might not even be a good thing. But
Yeah, but then you got. I mean, you have like Jared Leto has a band,
yeah,
Uh-huh.
and he's always had
his I don't remember the
Seconds
name.
to
Yeah,
Mars.
and they're
Uh,
very popular though,
Yeah, people
Yeah.
like him. And like they've been around forever,
and they're still around.
Yeah.
And I mean,
And he's got a good.
he's a
acting
talented
career, too.
actor. He's a successful musician, so it's
Yeah.
like
It's possible.
kind of
yeah.
at what point do we? I don't even know if we should care about it, but
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't bother me as a whole.
Yeah.
But if it's really like, it's only. I guess this movie could show it the two ways. If I don't like that person, it's
Yeah.
gonna stand out to people. That's gonna be the same
Chris
for an
Brown.
actor. But yeah, Chris
Yeah.
Brown. And then if your existence in the role is funny, it can be a detractor,
Right.
which is also T.I., but
Yeah.
it works for this film for most of it, except for when he's narrating and it just becomes really, really
Yeah.
funny.
Yeah.
So
One bad example: Rihanna in Battleship. Not that movie
yeah.
was any good, but I'm sure she did not bring anything to that one, other than she's Rihanna.
honestly, she might have made it better.
Maybe, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
when you got a real shit movie, sometimes you gotta grasp something. But like Chris Brown being in this didn't do anything
No.
for me. It could have been any other actor, and I would have been fine.
Yeah, for me, it just bothers me when the role has nothing to do with that character's or that musician's persona. Like ATL, it's about growing up in Atlanta. T.I.
So
did
T.I.'s
that.
natural.
You know,
Yeah.
The show Atlanta, Donald Glover grew up in Atlanta.
That's true.
He's into music. The show's up sort of about the music industry in a way. This is like shoehorning T.I. and Chris Brown as bank robbers
Into a
Like-
heist plot.
right?
Yeah.
Like, you know,
There's definitely better people you could have picked
Oh,
for
yeah.
those characters.
Yeah.
Jason Statham would have done it. He'll do like any heist movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They don't bring anything to the film other than
Right.
an audience built in.
Exactly.
So
I guess sometimes butts and seats, right?
butts and
Butts and
seats.
seats.
Max, where can the good people find us?
You can find us robbing a bank in downtown LA.
Yeah.
or at thecriticalbreakdown.com.
Yeah.
You can find me in the Dutch Antilles hanging out with my banker and Hayden Christensen. Or at Max Rivera Film on Twitter.
That's the important part.
Yeah.
You can find me getting out of prison or at breakdown_Scott.
You can find me catching trout on Instagram at Jonathan_Darling.
That's not a sexual thing, by the way.
No.
He's actually catching
I
trout.
really go
He's
fly
very
fishing
impressive. Our email is thecriticalbreakdownpodcast@gmail.com. We have like a Facebook and an Instagram.
Got
and
social stuff.
Yeah. You can find us on any podcatcher, and iTunes and Google Play. Those are probably the big ones.
Big ones.
If you're on iTunes, please leave us a rating and a review. It would help out. John's done it.
Yeah.
And it wasn't hard, was it?
No, it took like 30 seconds.
If John can do it.
If Takers is just a really special film to you and you want to tell us we're wrong, it's pretty good.
We'd love to hear from you.
So we want you to watch Heat first, but then we do want you to leave some
Carve out
feedback,
an evening
so-
for Heat. It's
Yeah.
worth watching.
Oh,
Yeah.
That's actually probably my biggest takeaway from Takers.
Watch good heist movies like
Yeah. Yeah.
Watch the better versions of
Yeah.
times.
And then until next time.
Next time on The Critical Breakdown.
We're watching Smokin' Aces.
Rated 29% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Ace in the hole.
Smoke this.